Hey guys, what's up? It's your man Pete, and today we're going to talk about the market that is being affected the most because of what's going on around the world right now. And specifically, I'm talking about the rental market here in Toronto and why prices are just completely falling apart. Because before the pandemic happened, prices were going up, supply was low, demand was extremely high, even for rental properties. That has completely changed course now. And we're going to get into that a little bit more in detail in this video and talk about why that is, why it could be good for you as a renter, but definitely really bad if you're a landlord and you're holding a lot of properties. So we'll get into that right after this. Okay, so it's long been known that rental properties in Toronto don't actually generate cash flow or significant yield as an investment. Even if you put down the minimum of 20% down on a property, generally speaking, the mortgage, property taxes, other expenses, repairs, all of those types of things do not cover the costs of owning an investment property. In some cases, you have to put somewhere north of 30 to 35% down in order to even just to cover your expenses based on the way property values have gone up. And in the last few years, we've seen really tight supply and really strong demand even on a rental side, which of course drove the prices up. Now in this new economic environment, which has dramatically shifted and changed things here in the city, where we're seeing rental rates dropping between $200 to even $500 per month. We're seeing it with some of our clients who are holding investment properties, and we're having to help them rent it out for a lot cheaper just to get someone in there. Number one, you've probably heard it in the news or you're directly impacted by what's been happening with the pandemic, which is that people sort of in the lower income bracket of employment, such as retail, hospitality, restaurants, things where you physically have to be there, those jobs have been affected the most. And that is disproportionately affecting the rental market here because typically it's younger people who are moving to the city for the first time who need to rent. And because of all this lack of mobility right now throughout the world, where people are not traveling, not moving, they're not relocating because of work or school or anything like that, it has affected the rental market and demand for rental properties in Toronto significantly. I mean, it's only anecdotal for me. I can imagine that if people don't have jobs, they don't have employment, they're probably going to move back home with their parents. They're going to probably partner up and buddy up with some friends and become roommates, or they're just going to stay exactly where they are. They're probably going to ask for a rent freeze from their current landlord, and they're just not making any movements because financially they don't know what's going to happen next. And for Toronto being such an international city where we attract a lot of people to come here to study, to work, from other countries such as China, Korea, India, South America, and even Saudi Arabia. With all of that freezing and all this uncertainty around schools and education, people are not moving. People are not looking for a place. And even though we don't have official figures for this, the international student market in Toronto is absolutely huge. If that international student pool dries up, then demand for rental condos and apartments and homes in Toronto is directly impacted. And second to that reason is we actually also attract a lot of international workers who come here on working permit or who end up becoming permanent residents because of their skills that we want to attract here in the city. And a big part of that is the technology sector, and in particular fintech, which really seems to have a strong holding here in the city. And so when employees are not shifting and moving around globally around the world and they're not coming to Toronto, the rental market is going to slow down, absolutely. Because when they come here, they don't typically buy a property right away. They usually rent for somewhere between 1 to 3 years before they can save up enough money or build up enough credit to be able to purchase a property. Of course, as we know here in Toronto, it is the economic engine of the entire country when it comes to jobs. And with the use of all these stay-at-home technologies, where if you were hired by a Toronto company or a Toronto firm, you could still literally stay where you are and still be able to join your team virtually without having to be here in person. Another force that is driving down prices here in Toronto is we're completing condos. I mean, we're always completing condos here in Toronto. We're always finishing brand new towers. And whenever there's brand new towers coming out, typically the price comes down for rent in that building. A couple of reasons for this, but the most obvious is that there's an oversupply of units. Like all of a sudden you've got, 10, 20, 50, 100 units coming out all at the same time, and they're all fighting for renters. And landlords, when they buy these pre-construction units, they typically have to offer them at a discount anyways, because most of the amenities, sometimes the corridors and the lobbies, are not even finished. And so comparatively speaking, when you're competing against other condos that are finished and completed and you don't have to deal with the dust and construction workers, you have to rent them cheaper. And stacked on top of all those other factors that I talked about before, it's a recipe for disaster when it comes to renting out your rental properties right now here in Toronto. So if you're looking for a place and you've got good employment, good credit, you've got choice up the yin yang. You can choose whatever you want at this point right now and be able to negotiate down. But then on the flip side, if you're a landlord and you're holding property and you're just not getting anybody to come through and you're not even getting showings because there's just such an oversupply of units, you might want to consider liquidating that condo simply because the rental yields and the vacancies just don't really make a lot of sense right now, because the buying market is still actually pretty strong and robust at the moment. And of course, if you're looking to divest some of your investments, you know who to talk to. Here's my contact number if you're thinking of getting rid of some investment properties. So if this video was helpful to you in some way, please be sure to hit the like button and smash the subscribe button for me, because it really helps with the YouTube algorithm. So we hope to hear from you soon, and bye for now, everyone.